Here's Linda sharing God's heart.
Hello, everyone. Today we are going to look at Psalm 23, verse 4, which reads, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, this valley, it's not when we walk through it, not if, but when. It is when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, which was traditionally a narrow gorge of death, a valley of distress, or extreme danger. I will fear no evil. Fear is an interesting word in that it is something Jesus told, the Father told us so many times, do not fear. But the word fear has interesting meanings. It's almost like a double-edged sword. It's on the one hand, it means don't be afraid of. But on the other hand, it means revere, stand in awe of, respect or honor. So here it says, I will not give place, I will not honor, I will not respect evil, which means it's something that wants to give me pain, something that wants to make me happy or miserable. So I will not give that thing that is not good, I will not give it place, I will not honor it, I will not respect it. It says, for your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, shepherds, I'm learning so much about shepherds. It's beautiful. Shepherds were considered such lowly, insignificant people, but wow, they had such a wealth of knowledge, and it was just amazing. There was so much one could learn from it, and no wonder Jesus likened himself to the good shepherd. Now, the shepherd had not that many tools. He had equipment that he needed to carry with him, but he couldn't carry too much or too heavy things because he also needed two hands free for the sheep themselves. But there are two parts of his equipment that are mentioned here, a staff and a rod. Now, the staff was the shepherd's tool of authority. It was a long, thin stick, often with a hook or a crook at the end. And I know that we see many pictures of this, of Jesus having a hook when he's depicted as the good shepherd with the sheep and carrying a sheep. And with that staff, the shepherd would guide his sheep through a gate or a narrow passageway, and that guiding with his staff reassured the sheep of being on the correct path. It was like, just stick with the staff, just know that the staff is next to you, and you'll know you're on the correct path. The other tool that David mentions here is the rod. Now, the rod was a relatively short club-like device, and with that, the shepherd would fight off danger. He could maybe throw it at a predator who wanted to come and eat or scatter the sheep. He might use it for discipline, where he might throw it in the direction of a sheep that's meandering off, because sheep were not they were easily distractible. So he would throw it close to them so that they'd be startled, and then that they would come back again closer to the flock. And also what he would use the rod for, and I think the staff as well, was to count the sheep, because in the morning when he left, he had to know how many sheep he had, and he had to come back with that same amount, unless, of course, one of them gave birth on the way. And then also with the rod, he would inspect the sheep, because their coat was so thick, the wool was so long, he would have to part the wool, and he would have to check for wounds or insects or parasites. So the staff and the rod were like a huge comfort to the sheep. And it says, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. When we are comforted, we are set at ease, and there is no pain. We are pain free. There's a verse in Psalm 138, verse 7, which says, though I walk in the midst of trouble, you will revive me, restore me, refresh me. You will stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand will save me. Perhaps, could it be that the psalmist is writing about the shepherd throwing the rod towards an enemy, a predator, the enemies? It says, you will stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand will save me. Perhaps the shepherd also with his crook would pull out a sheep that had fallen into a crevice, and then if he was right-handed, he would pull it out with his right hand. And so today I would like to bless you with the ability and the wisdom to know when something is evil and not to give it place, not to honor it, not to respect it, not to give it the place it demands, because we're so easily distracted by the things that we experience, and that we would rather give that, as it were, fear, reverence and respect and honor the Lord at that time and say, God, I choose to fear you rather than the evil that is trying to distract me from you. I bless you today with the ability to stay focused on God no matter what. And when we stay focused on Him, where He sits in eternity, then it will be easier to see the big picture and not look on the things that the evil wants us to focus on.